and welcome to the Organic Matters podcast, brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. There is hustle and bustle in the background because we're at the Green Door Market in Dublin, and we're here with Christy Stapleton, who has been pivotal in actually setting up this entire market. Christy, thank you very much for being here on this lovely sunny day with us.
Thank you very much, Hannah. It's nice to have you in here. Yes, you're very welcome.
So the Green Door Market, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, first of all, what is the Green Door Market?
Okay, the Green Door Market is an indoor farmers market based in Bluebell in Dublin. So our target is to just provide a full range of the weekly shopping that somebody might require, ideally organically. The vast majority of all our products here from all our stalls are organic. But not exclusively so, but primarily organic. So that's our target, one-stop shop for all our customers to just come in and do their weekly shopping.
And there is a lovely warm vibe about the place. Like the second I parked the car and opened the door, there was kind of fun music kind of floating in the air, and just the whole thing about it. People seem kind of engaged and interested in talking to each other as well. You know, there's spaces for people to sit and shop. There's a lovely feeling about that. I mean, you were one of the members who set this up. You were telling me there was 4 originally. Was that always your vision for the place?
No, I think the vision grew organically, for want of a better term. We set it up, myself and my wife and Deirdre O'Sullivan and Norman Kenny, back in 2014. So what we wanted then, we wanted some control over our own sales. We're growers in both cases. So we wanted some control over where we would sell, and we also wanted some control over that environment so that we could build what we currently have. So we could make it a fun place to shop, because it needs to be a little bit more than just a supermarket. And people, we have regular people, the same people coming back primarily every week. So we have live music and we have engagement with people. And in a lot of cases we know how they're getting on, and you know, if somebody is missing for a couple of weeks, you'd say, oh, you were off on the holidays or whatever. So there's a lot of engagement, a lot of banter, quite a bit of slagging, and there's not many supermarkets you'll go into where you'll get people hugging one another. So it's a very engaged, very clubby family. Hopefully it's not excluding other people that might wander in, but it is primarily a food place to get your shopping, but also it needs to be a fun place, and that's what we're trying to do.
It sounds like shopping with soul. That's what it sounds like.
Shopping with soul, yeah. And on a wet day, people will hang around here a lot more. Sometimes in the summer, people are just in and out and gone. They're not going to hang around. But on the other hand, if people have time on their hands and they want to sit down, have a coffee, have a little bit of food to eat, that happens as well. And we've loads of spaces for people to sit down, both inside and outside. It's primarily inside, but in good weather, it extends to outside as well. Like today, for example, the live music was outside. So there's spaces all around for us to extend as much outside as we need to.
And I guess you touched upon it earlier, and not to bring us down with a bang, but in terms of having that control over your prices and having then that contact directly with your customers, there's been a lot in the headlines recently about a lot of horticulture growers getting out of the business because they can't make ends meet. We talk about below cost selling an awful lot. So were you relieved in a way? I mean, it's not a nice thing to say, but were you relieved, or did you understand where people were coming from recently when they were talking about getting out of the business?
Yeah, I don't think the organic sector has had the same price pressure from the supermarkets. It may develop in time, you never know. That's down to supply and demand. So because in Ireland there isn't a sufficient horticultural supply of fruit and veg, there hasn't been that pressure from supermarkets, but it could happen. But it does give us control over that. It also allows us to, because we have a good turnover here, it allows us to keep our margins down, and if our margins are down, then the price to the customer is better. So we have control over that, because organic shopping shouldn't be exclusive. It shouldn't be only for the very well-heeled.
But people have that idea in their heads that it is.
They do have that idea, and people are sometimes surprised when they come in here first, and they bring over their basket of shopping and they look quite surprised about what the total comes in at. But we do like to keep it affordable. And although it mightn't have hit the Irish customer to the same extent, we have a lot of Eastern European customers, regular customers, who spend primarily on food for their family. They have I suppose, a target of getting the best food possible for their family, and they'll shop very, very seasonally. They know what's in season, they know what good prices, and they're watching the prices, and yet they will do most of their shopping here. So it's a very focused approach that we don't get as many Irish people doing that, but the Eastern Europeans are really good at that.
Do you think we've lost a skill in that way? And I don't know where we did, because I mean, I live with my grandmother at home and we farm together, and you know, she would talk about the garden that they had growing up as kids, and it's not in kind of a fanciful sort of garden way, you know, it was a working garden, that's where they got their vegetables from, and everyone had a garden, grew their own vegetables, knew what was in season. Did we get to, I don't want to say posh, but did we start looking down on things like that?
That somewhere in the last maybe 30 or 40 years. Certainly when I was growing up, we always had a garden. I was born in Stradbally, County Laois, and we had quite a big garden, but I moved to Dublin then when I was 8. And my father carried on doing the garden. It was always him, not my mother. It was quite a gender-based thing there. So I was growing vegetables with him from the time I was very young. But loads of people had vegetable gardens then at that stage. You know, and even when we moved to Dublin, quite a few of our neighbours would have been in relatively small gardens back in the 60s. But that, I think, has got much rarer. I think it lasted longer in Eastern European, or even parts of France and Germany. There would still be growing more gardens. Here it became, the phrase you would often hear farmers say is that sure, it's cheaper to buy them in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. That was the phrase, yeah.
Yeah,
it still is sometimes.
It is still the phrase, yeah. Whereas they were ignoring the fact that they could have their own fresh, and if they choose, organic vegetables from their own garden.
Sad, really, isn't it?
It is, but I think some people still have it. A lot of our customers would still have their own gardens. And for example, we would sell just as much, if not more, lettuce, for example, in the winter, because so many of our customers grow their own salads, and so I think a lot of people are still doing it. But I suppose we're really a niche. We're not really competing to any huge extent with the supermarkets.
But saying that, I mean, this place is hopping, for want of a better word. It is busy.
Yeah.
Like, what's kind of the footfall here for a weekend?
Footfall here on the Saturday is about 700, and we'd probably get the same again then between Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. But Saturday would be our our busiest day. You know, that's when all the stalls are in.
And did you ever envisage it would be that successful when you started?
Yeah, we wanted. Actually, it needs to be this successful in order for us to pay our rent, and for it to have significant turnover for all our stallholders, because they can't come in here, pay us rent, and not go home with a wage. And also, we need to pay our landlord. So the economics of it need to have it this busy. It can't be just open and ticking over. It needs to be this busy, or it can't survive.
Have you suffered in terms of electricity prices and things like that recently?
Yeah, we did last year. We put an electricity surcharge on all our stallholders. We've since reviewed that, and we dropped that last month. So, but electricity wouldn't be a huge part of our outlay, you know. But we just need to adjust to things as they come in, and everyone has the same pressures from electricity prices, so we just cope with these things and get on with it.
Yeah, it strikes me that you are just that type of person that you just kind of not go with the flow, but that you just kind of take every one step at a time.
You need to. There is no point in just complaining about the electricity prices. You know, there's some things we don't have complete control over. So this is what we do, and just do it.
But you do have control over selling directly to customers, and that's what you're doing. In terms of economics, I'm wondering, you know, you've created something here that's obviously quite successful. Do you see this as perhaps a blueprint for someone else to do this, maybe in Donegal or something like that?
Yeah, I think you need a critical mass of customers. So I don't know how this might work in smaller areas. So yeah, it certainly should. There's not many of these sort of venues around the country, but yeah, it's certainly repeatable.
People might say, though, that you're lucky in terms of maybe you've got a South County middle to upper class kind of clientele coming. Is that the case? Are they exclusively all kind of wealthy Dubliners coming here?
They're not all wealthy Dubliners, no. We get, like I was saying, a lot of foreign people, particularly Eastern Europeans, a lot of French people, and they're not all well-heeled. Yeah, the well-heeled come here and they don't have the same issues with prices. But we also have quite a lot of people who wouldn't be particularly well off and just want to buy organic and see it as an important part of their lifestyle and as their health even.
And I guess then in terms of next steps, is this as big as you want to get, or are there other things that you'd like to do?
As big as we want to get, well, as a unit it functions very well at this size. Repeating it, I don't see us as repeating it. Maybe the next generation may repeat it. Like Nerney Farm, the other organic vegetable stall in the market, have recently passed from Deirdre O'Sullivan's hands into her son and her son's partner's hands. So there's the next generation coming up. Also, the Green Door Pantry, which is the what you might call the whole food shop that's part of the Green Door. It's run by my son Jack Stapleton. So there is family involvement in the next generation, which may well do much more interesting and expansive things to it. There may be a chain of the Green Door around the country by the time I'm finished, but it won't be primarily led by me and Mary and Deirdre.
Like, it's a really important, I would say, sales point for a lot of organic growers and suppliers, and I don't know if you even realise the ripple effects of that. Say for us now, and people will know that we have an organic dairy farm at home, but we sell, I think you're our second biggest merely consumer of milk every single week, and that's huge for us. And that's a really important kind of sale for us. So I mean, the thing that you've created, or you and the other people have created, I mean, is a really important outlet for organic growers around the country.
Yeah, well, certainly. I'm a small grower, so I source a lot of as much as I can from other organic growers in Ireland. So I have a huge network of people I buy from. And then after that I do import as well, but primarily I sell from, and I think it's similar with Nerney Farm. We sell primarily as local as possible, ideally our own, if not our own, then from other organic growers. So yeah, it is important to support, and we do support other growers, and like you say, it's part of it, keeping it as local as possible as well as organic. It also needs to be as local as possible.
A slightly cheeky question now, and I know it's not a competition, but I'm looking around and there's lots of things for sale. I mean, what is the main thing that people come in for? Is it the vegetables? Is it the atmosphere? What do you think it is that people mainly come in for?
I think primarily people come in for the shopping. The atmosphere adds to it, and they might stay for that, but it's primarily the shopping. We've 2 organic veg stalls, so I'd have to say that it's primarily veg-led. But we do have an organic meat stall. We have Cool and Owl, and we have fish stall. We have 2 bakers. One of them is Tartine, is also organic. So it's primarily for food, and not so much for ready-to-eat, coffees and sandwiches stuff. It's more the weekly shopping.
I'm interested because you have so much choice as well. If you were heading home for dinner tonight and you had your pick of the food around you, what would you be taking home?
What would I be taking home? I primarily take home some from my own stall, to be honest. Yeah. As a vegetarian, I occasionally get a bit of cheese from Sunil's organic cheese stall, but as a vegetarian, I don't be bringing home organic meat or fish. But that's just my choice, and we realised when we started this that not everyone has the same food requirements as ourselves, so we need to make it as broad as possible and just cater for as many people as possible.
I remember talking to the CEO of the Urban Co-op, and it was interesting when you were talking about being a vegetarian, and what she said to me was that she had a lot of people come in, or not a lot of people, but a few people come in who were recovering vegans because their kind of nutrient levels have been depleted so much. And it's not me coming down on any specific type of diet or lifestyle choice or anything like that, but I am wondering, do you get people with kind of specific dietary requirements coming in looking for your food as well?
I suppose regardless of what their dietary choices or decisions, some people can have bad diets. And not necessarily a bad vegan diet, they could have also a good vegan diet. And so I think the term recovering vegan would probably be, I would regard as slightly derogatory. because there are also people recovering from excessive meat eating, but we don't necessarily classify it as that. So I think it's important that people have a balanced diet, whatever their choices are. It needs to be a healthy, balanced diet, and a vegan diet isn't always healthy, in the same way as a very carnivorous diet isn't always healthy.
I had a vegetarian best friend who ate an awful lot of chocolate as well. So, so there is that healthy, they are healthy balances there.
So I think we're all entitled to break out a little bit. I don't have all the good habits myself personally.
Not? No.
I don't. No, I don't have a lot of bad habits, but my chosen bad habits, I suppose again, it's a matter of choice. So we can't. I think the high moral ground can be a very lonely place as well. I think we all have to allow other people to make their own choices, and here we allow people to choose. If stuff goes on the shelf and it doesn't sell, the customer basically decides that. Now we can tweak that a little bit. Because, for example, if we go back maybe about 10 or 12 years on my stall, I had a couple of people looking for turmeric, but not much. Fresh turmeric was not that widely available. So the first box, I knew I could get it. First box I brought in, I put it on the counter with a sign on it to say that this product is free to anyone who can recognise what it is. Now, by the end of the day, we had no turmeric left, but we also, I suppose, expanded the range of the potential sales for turmeric. Because otherwise you get something, you leave it on the shelf, nobody recognises it or buys it because they don't know what it is or what they can do for them. So I think we can tweak it a little bit, but in general, people will buy what people want. And if they get something this week that they don't like, they're not going to buy it next week. Even if you give it away to them this week, if they don't want it next week, they're not going to buy it.
Every business was talking about the impact of the pandemic. What did the pandemic, or how did the pandemic impact on you?
Well, I suppose at the start it was a little bit scary in that all of a sudden we had this, regulations that came upon us. And when Leo Varadkar announced the closing of all markets, the environmental health people were immediately on to us. But we discussed the actual relevance of these term markets, and they agreed that it was really what he was referring to as marts and markets, as in animal sales. So they agreed that we would stay open once we complied with ventilation and mask wearing and all that sort of stuff. So in some ways it was quite difficult because we then had to impose all these regulations on our customers, which did create a little bit of conflict. But on the other hand, we managed to stay open right throughout the pandemic, and uniquely so in terms of indoor farmers markets.
That must have been so important for the farmers who supply and sell here.
And it was also very important to our customers, who in a lot of cases are our friends. So just closing up, none of it was never suggested that the supermarkets would close up or any of the other shops, but there was a lot of pressure on markets to. But immediately, once this mention of markets closing, my wife was on to the relevant authorities and discussing this, and eventually it ended up with the Department of the Taoiseach agreeing that we should stay open, and we got that in writing from them. So that
you better frame that.
I think for quite a while it was on the door of our cold store over there, but yeah, it was very important to us to stay open, because at that stage we didn't know how long it was going to be, and as it turned out it would have been for months. So we managed that, and we're quite proud of that, and also we're also satisfied that we could carry on, which was a very difficult time for people with, I suppose, health issues, that we could carry on providing them with organic food.
That's a very interesting sentiment. And Christy, we're finishing up, and where can people find out more about the Green Door? Do they just come here? What days do they come here at? Can they follow you on social media? What can they do?
Okay, we're open from Thursday right through to Sunday. Saturday would be our biggest market. After that, we're in Bluebell. If anyone wants to Google it, we've got a website. We're also on social media, the Green Door Market, and we're well served by Lewis. We've got loads of parking outside, and people will find us on our website.
That's lovely. Thank you very much for that. And for everyone listening, you've been listening to the Organic Matters podcast, brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. And for more about organics, visit their website, www.irishorganicassociation.ie. But for me, Hannah Quinn Mulligan, that's it. Thank you very much for listening.